First things first, we do have to get this engine off the stand and back on the crane, because I didn't use the long bolts. Some people use longer bolts right here to get it further away so that they can actually do clutch and everything while it's on the engine stand. I didn't do that, so we're gonna take it off, hang it, and then I'll be able to get to the rear main seal. We'll have to change that. And then we got a new clutch pack. We'll show you that here in a bit. All right, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there is some wiring we have to do. We still have the automatic harness for the transmission and stuff like that. So we kept all that in there. We weren't able to source the car we used to get our engine, or the car we used to get our transmission was a pre-facelift model. So we don't have, we wound up keeping the facelift wiring harness. And to my knowledge, one of the wiring setups we have to do is the reverse light switch for the manual gearbox. So this is the pre-facelift harness we kept from the car. These two wires were cut because the body of the car was dragged on the ground before we got it. So these are the two wires that originally went for the reverse lights, and the same wiring plugs in here in this harness. Let's see if I can find it. Right here. Same color code for the wires. The only difference is on the automatic, it looks like it loops back around and into a relay, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm hoping we can tie into it with that switch and maybe it'll still trigger the relay like it should. So I got the clip off the transmission. I'm gonna extend these two wires just to get them up here. So looking here, we have to make a block off plate for this. The internet sells these, but we're all about making our own stuff here for the most part. We'll buy what we can, but make what we also can. So we got a piece of aluminum. We're gonna trace out the gasket, and we're going to drill some holes and cut her up. We'll bandsaw most of that up and then drill the two holes. She ain't gotta be perfect either.
It's gonna be perfect, isn't it?
I'm probably it's gonna be very squared up. It ain't gonna be rounded. You don't need to do the circle.
Oh, because it's just a block.
Punch it first.
Punch.
Because it's not centered. I would say we'll get the gasket back on it. It would feel like, I don't know, feel like we're exactly centered. In case the cutting process, you know, gets sort of. Give me that hammer again. My center punch is broke. Oh, now you want to work. There we go.
It just needs to get hit.
Fixed it.
It's fixed.
Incredible. That's actually like better than it's ever been. Time to cut. Oily. Nice smooth surface. All right, now we'll begin our next step. We're gonna get this crane up and get this engine on it. Okay, over to the parts table. We have a clutch. So we went with Clutch Masters', why is this box so stout? There we go. All right, so we got our torque specs for the clutch, flywheel, new hardware. So with these, they are balanced together and tested. So we marked a pin with some Sharpie so we know exactly which way it goes. Here is our clutch disc. We went with a 6-puck. It's a streetable design. So we won't have, hopefully they claim it's streetable anyway. We'll see if we can actually drive this thing. But it's got springs in it, so we won't destroy everything. But this is to hold a little more power in case we go turbo one day, which might happen. Or back straight up LS, baby. All right. So we're gonna put red Loctite on these. We're gonna be sending it full throttle, so we don't want to lose our bolts. You need a drink? There's beer out here.
Yeah, you stop my drink. I got a drink now.
You been drinking? You're still, oh, you know what you hit? You hit a dopamine barrier, so now you're like requiring it. You're now an alcoholic. Oh. That's why you're shaking. All right, this one doesn't have the timing pin, so I think it just goes on any old way, looks like. I'll send it. Nah, we ain't gonna start without the water, man. We gotta get it. We have everything. It's all if Tyler wants to get into the car. How long does he want to lay down there? All the shit where you gotta lay on the floor. That's what you got in your car.
Get tread roll.
Mine was powder coated, refinished like yours is.
Powder. Rattle can, you mean? This is a nut and bolt restoration. We're gonna win the card show next year at Grid Life with this. Ugga dugga. Just kidding. We're just gonna get them cinched. Well, it ain't. Oh! 2, that's fine. We ain't gonna get to that torque spec. Do you see what torque specs they are? Oh, shit.
80?
We're gonna go 87. Okay, all the bolts are started. Now we're gonna need to get the torque wrench out. Ryan torque wrench. All right, so we're gonna take this to 87 foot-pounds. I think these are the 12x1 threads. The Loctite will add a couple foot-pounds. He's just over here stealing shit. All right. I'm gonna go cross pattern. You holding?
Yep.
Ooh. How good are you holding there, sir? I got a little more leverage than you, so. Do we need a pipe?
Nah.
You got it, you just need. Oh yeah, we're good.
Roll pair.
All right, here we go, big one. Oh yeah.
Power seats.
No, base model, new top.
All right, get all this manufacturing oils and debris off of here.
Yeah, come.
And then get her, hold it up. Our clutch is aligned-ish, kinda. There's a good bit of wiggle room there, sir. Let's get her centered. Oh yeah, that's the way to do it right there. These go to 20 foot-pounds, I wanna say, yeah, that's right. Down here, from under. From under. This clutch has got quite a bit of movement, so I'm gonna have to hold it up a little bit. I'll get that first one down. Oops. Oops. I cleaned all of that. You didn't see me? I even recorded it and said, get all that manufacturing oil off there. You must have missed that part. 20 foot-pounds, so I still need to use the big one. I need to get the middle guy. All right, we are set to 20 foot-pounds. I'm gonna do a couple turns on each one. I'm not gonna torque it. Actually, you don't need to hold right now. It'll slowly cinch down. All right, Tyler's putting the bolts in for the bell housing now. Everything went in so swimmingly. No, really it didn't. So Clutchmasters included this tool here, which we put electrical tape on because the fitment inside the pilot bearing was so loose that you could never get the clutch to be balanced or centered properly. So after trial and error, wondering why the transmission would not mate with the engine, we had like probably a half-inch gap there. Figured out getting this thing perfectly centered. I even used some calipers to make sure it was perfectly centered in the hole, and it went right on smooth after that. right, the engine went in without a hitch for the most part. We had to get a couple of supporting pieces to get it on. I wound up wiring everything in off camera. We kind of had to stuff all the automatic stuff in here right now. What we did was we found the clutch switch wiring and we brought it up here. Let's see if I can get a good light in here or not. But we just joined it in with the other two wires that were already in there. We also ordered a clutch switch online and an aftermarket clutch switch harness that we were able to get these wires coming through. Purple wire goes to positive, brown wire goes to ground. We found, let's see, it's kind of a mess right now. Basically just found switch power down here and a ground to go off from with those. And then there's tons of guides on the internet about the other two wires. There is the EWS pin number 8, I believe. And then there is on the DME, the 4th plug in, there's pin number 23. Both of those need to be pinned in. They're both missing a pin on the automatic harness. So you can just join a new pin in there from another harness. Luckily this harness we bought came with the pins already attached, so that worked out well for us. We also took the time to hook up the power steering system. It's kind of just hanging here now, but we have everything hooked up and tightened. One of those supporting things I needed was we had a 5 series pump on here, which has a large banjo bolt for the outlet from the pump. And the 3 series stuff that we have to work with was a bolt style with a rubber O-ring. So we had to swap out pumps to make that work. But otherwise, everything is on and we are ready for coolant system stuff. We had to source another coolant temp sensor. We're gonna clamp these silicone hoses on once we get everything. We had to go to the junkyard and get a few of these straight fittings because our car did not come with any of that. Tyler is down here firing off the underside of this car. Oh. So, dudes. Okay. We got poly mounts for the engine and transmission. And he's hooking up the Guibo right now. We're getting that going. Got some D's nuts down here. Putting a drive shaft in. We got the shift linkage all hooked up with our chassis mount shifter. Ready to take a nap down here. So we gotta push forward.
You bet.
Yeah. So from tutorials we've heard, we're gonna do it as well. But put a preload on this bearing, make sure it pushes against. All right, so we got all that done. We've been trying to get the exhaust in, and I have been rather surprised myself. I didn't think this was gonna line up at all with these eBay, what are we supposed to call them?
High flow cats.
Stock catalytic converters.
High flow.
Yeah,
high
that's
flow,
it.
High flow.
This is just the stock 325 exhaust that came with the car we bought. We're gonna run this just to get it started and maybe, I don't know, see how the performance is. We might just keep it on for a while. The flanges line up pretty good. So we're gonna put OEM gaskets in. We're not gonna use the ones that came with the headers.
Hell no.
Get these last couple bolts tightened up and we'll see if we can get this engine to turn over. All right, we're gonna try test fire, go. Success! All right, I consider that a big milestone for this build. Getting this thing running was probably one of my biggest worries. Beyond that, everything else should fall into place. We are literally getting cooked out here. It is super hot. Next episode, we're gonna be doing the coolant system and getting the front end back on, and maybe we'll get to drive and do some skids. So stick around for that. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. Peace out.